Come to order, please. If everyone would, if you haven't already, silence your cell phones or turn them off. We'd certainly appreciate it. Interruptions kind of gets in the way sometimes. Anyway, I call to order the regular meeting of the Carrabelle City Commission, Thursday, July the 11th, 2024, 6 p.m. I'm going to start off with a brief prayer and lead you in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. And if you would please stand. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you tonight thanking you for the many, many blessings and gifts that you give us and bestow to us as people and in a community on a daily basis. There's many, many individual things that we could compliment and thank you for, but you know what I'm conveying to you. And we're here again tonight to conduct some business, or the regular business of the city. And we ask for your wisdom and guidance as we move forward in our deliberations here tonight and communications and making informed and wise decisions as we move forward for the benefit of the citizens. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Excuse me. Okay, the first thing on the agenda is the consent agenda. And we had the June 6, 2024 regular meeting minutes and the attorney invoices. Do I have a motion to approve? Or
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
have a motion to approve by Commissioner Reese, second by Commissioner Brown. Any comments? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Okay, at this time, we open it up to public comment for any comments that anyone wants to bring forward to the board or to the commission that's not already attached to the agenda. And when you're recognized, if you have some comments, when you're recognized and want to come up and speak, you get 3 minutes. And when you come to the podium, if you'd give your full name for the recorder, we'd appreciate it. So is there any public comment? Okay, thank you. Move on to the commissioner reports. Commissioner Walden.
I have nothing tonight.
Commissioner Brown.
I have a short report. I hope everyone had an amazing 4th of July and Independence Day week. I know we had a little snafu with our fireworks, but hopefully the show was enjoyable for all that were able to come out. We have some fun events coming up for the kids in July in Carrabelle. Sea Quarters Marina Youth Fishing Tournament is Saturday, July 20th. It's free for youth up to 16 years old, and you can register at Sea Quarters here in Carrabelle and get a free rod and reel and a t-shirt. The Carrabelle branch of the Franklin County Library has a couple of fun events next week too. Their summer STEM is Thursday at 2:30 featuring DIY birdhouse building. Friday is a tie-dye day at 2 p.m. The materials will be provided or you can bring your own. Both of those are sponsored by the Friends of the Library. First Fridays downtown are going to be on hold for the next couple months until the fall when it cools off. It's getting a little too hot for people to come out, and we're not having a good turnout in the summer, so we're going to pause it. But I hope you all still visit your local shops and eateries and support local. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Brown. Commissioner Gray.
Nothing at this time.
Commissioner Reese.
Yes, I'd like to give an update on the Mariners Memorial that's located on Marine Street. We have the forms down. We have steel in them. We've cleaned up the site. We're ready to pour as soon as we can get that together and come up out of the ground. We've got the forms for the memorial built and ready to assemble. As soon as we get that pad down, we're ready to go. I don't know if you guys are very aware of it, but we, through the CRA and the city, are building a Mariners Memorial. We have a propeller that we got off of, what was that boat, Mayor?
Miss Carrabelle.
The Miss Carrabelle. And it's going to be mounted on the top. We had a mock-up built and set it up in there, and it looks like it might even work. So we'll keep you posted, but it's going to be quite an interesting structure dedicated to the folks that have lost their lives in our northeastern Gulf of Mexico. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Reese. And just to follow up on that and to compliment Commissioner Reese before he even came on the board as commissioner here recently, and we appreciate him doing that and working with us and helping us out. He spent a lot of time, he and his crew have dedicated a lot of time, effort, money, and other volunteers in the community, businesses, to create and build this memorial. And I think it's going to be a nice attraction down on Marine Street. And again, thank you for all your effort and hard work.
It's an honor. Thank
Yep.
you.
Okay. Next on the agenda is the staff reports, and first up is the city attorney. Do you have anything?
I do. I have one thing this month, just to make everybody aware of this. This will come before you possibly next month. Is we had a meeting with the county, Courtney, myself, and the mayor, to discuss with them. They had reached out to the city about amending the hospital surtax interlocal agreement. And what that was is a 2007 agreement between the city and the county, which authorizes, they also had one with the city of Apalachicola, and it authorized this sales tax to be assessed for a couple different purposes. The first of which was construction of Weems East, which they did accomplish, and then there are other milestones that they're supposed to try and meet, which are related to, I'm going to call it Weems West, but the hospital that they're supposed to rehabilitate or put a new hospital in. That has not begun yet. The county is interested in amending the agreement for the purpose of paying for ambulance service out of that trust fund that tax creates. Historically, ambulance service has been paid for out of the general fund, out of the ad valorem taxes, county taxes. And they would like to shift that off the county taxes onto this 1 cent, basically hospital surtax. That is approximately it's about $820,000 a year right now for ambulance service, serving the entire county. We discussed a number of other issues. The most relevant one, or the one that was important, was in the original agreement, it talked about extended hours on weekdays and weekends for the facility here that has never been realized. Mm-hmm. So we mentioned that. They said they'd look into that from a funding standpoint, and they will propose language to us to amend our interlocal agreement. That'll come before you all in a future meeting, but could be as early as the next meeting, August. That's all I have.
Okay.
Yeah, questions, certainly.
I do. I need to follow up on that, Mr. Attorney. I received a call earlier today from the Weems CEO interested in that follow-up meeting that you just described, and us going ahead and setting that follow-up meeting. And I think what we should do here tonight, you've brought it up, is we should discuss it. And then the board here can decide on what information they want to carry, or for me to carry back to the CEO. That might be the thing for us to do right now at this point. Sure. And if we could, I had highlighted for Courtney, if she would read that section on what that agreement was, or Dan, you can do that. It's yours.
Sure. It just talked here about, talks about distribution of the proceeds of the tax levy, that the first use of the infrastructure portion of the sales tax proceeds, so there was an infrastructure portion and a services portion, but the infrastructure portion of the sales tax proceeds will be used to construct an urgent care facility with diagnostic, radiology, and lab services within the city of Carrabelle with extended weekday and weekend hours. So when you read all that, certainly we're pleased with the Weems East facility, but it has not yet met all of the criteria. And that was sort of our focus, was to and the mayor's focus, to stay on top of that. So I think certainly, Mr. Mayor, you, as far as, again, that was our focus. So if we're having follow-up meetings, it would be, hey, do we have all the radiological, the diagnostic aspects to that facility, as well as extended hours?
Yeah, my thoughts were on it, and Dan's explained it very well. And the board needs to speak on how they feel here, but my thoughts on it is just exactly what he said, is that agreement, that what they're looking for right now is they're kind of looking for a positive nod from the two cities to where they can utilize those funds, as the attorney described, annually toward the operation of their maintenance, of their ambulance service, in which I personally didn't have a problem with. I think the nod is good, that the ambulance service is definitely something we've got to continue to have in this county, and not just in the east end or the west end, but this county. And my comment was to them, that's great. I feel like that we could give you the nod on that, positive nod on that, but looking back at that agreement, 2006, 7, we do have Weems East Medical Center here on 5th Street East, but they have not fulfilled their complete obligation there. And that MOU, or Memorandum of Understanding, or Memorandum of Agreement, is between the city and the county, but this facility out here provides service to the entire east end of the county, not just the city of Carrabelle. And that's one thing that I conveyed to them when we met, is we would kind of like to see that same service stepped up and meet what they had spoke to and what they would do on the east end of the county. So let's step up on it if we're going to give a nod for the ambulance service. Because Carrabelle is supporting health care in Franklin County. Another example is we just donated land for them to build the ambulance service out here at Lanark Village. And I brought that up and said that to them. So, but anyway, that's the message I kind of conveyed to them at our meeting. But it's open to you guys, where you folks need to chime in here and give some thought on it. Anybody?
Go right ahead,
I
Commissioner.
was just gonna say, I agree with everything that you're saying. You know, if they've agreed to do this, it's been going on 10 years now. We need to see some action. Because this area is growing, summer camp's growing, the whole Lanark Village is growing, and that's where those people are gonna be going. It's not just Carrabelle, but this whole side of the
Correct.
county.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Yes, so, you know, to make it simple, are we gonna get a clinic back here?
Are you asking?
No, that's the negotiation, right?
That's
So
the
they're
nego-
saying, hey, they believe, just to be legally proper, that they need to amend the interlocal agreement to add the ambulance service to it.
Right.
So our response, you know, everybody's getting along great. Right now would be, hey, hang on a minute, before we start changing the agreement, can we get what we were promised out of the agreement?
Exactly.
Right.
We're okay, obviously, and we're fine changing it. I mean, it's not an offensive change. We're all citizens of the county, we all pay county taxes, and, you know, the services that come with it.
You know, we had a good service here at one point. It disappeared. Doctors left. You know, Carrabelle needs more health care than less. And so if this is going to lead to having this facility re-upped and what it sounds like is even greater treatment for emergency issues, you know, I think, Mr. Mayor, we need to certainly move forward, like you say.
That's what I'm saying. What I'm saying at this point is we should ask for them to fulfill that commitment at this point. They've always been able to utilize the funds for purchase of an ambulance. But what they're asking the nod for now is for the funds from the surtax to pay for the operation of the operation of the ambulance service. So with that nod, that's good. But again, we need to step up and fulfill that commitment that was in this agreement originally. So,
Yes.
okay. I'd like for someone to put that in the form of a motion to where if I meet with the CEO of Weems, that this board's in agreement with that message to be transmitted to them.
I'll give this a shot.
Okay?
I'd like to make a motion to direct Mayor Millender to request that they move forward with their original agreement, which Dan read, can't remember all the wording, but you got that, at their next meeting, and also agree with the ambulance service being taken out of the surtax.
Okay? I got a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Brown, second by Commissioner Gray. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Attorney, back to you.
That's all as far as my report.
Okay?
Can I ask something kind of related to that?
Okay?
I don't know if this is related to that, but maybe, there's been buzz that they're potentially opening up a pharmacy over here in that office. Was that discussed whatsoever?
No.
Not really.
No.
I mean, the comment was made, I wish we had a
Yeah,
pharmacy here. but
exactly.
Other than that, no.
Yeah, casual comment, but no discussion. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is the city administrator.
All right, mine's short tonight. I sent out 2 staff reports this month, one for the Streets and Roads Department and one for the Police Department. Our water and sewer guys got tied up this week and he didn't get his in on time. But do you have any questions on either one of those?
Any comments or questions? Thank you.
And I have we had a Streets and Roads employee that put in his 2-week resignation, and I need approval to advertise for her.
Do we need a motion for that?
Yes.
I will make a motion that, Ms. Courtney advertise for hire for the Streets and Roads position.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Brown. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Reese. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Courtney. Ms. Clerk? She's still writing the motion. You go ahead, Keisha.
I got some dates for you here. We've got, next week, we've got our CRA meeting, July 16th at 1:30 p.m. We have a P&Z scheduled for July 18th at 2 p.m. Our next city commission meeting will be August 1st at 6 p.m. And we will need to look at starting to schedule a budget workshop. I'm thinking the last week of August, if y'all want to go ahead and schedule that now, or schedule it at our August 1st meeting. So give you time to look up.
I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but I'm thinking we'll schedule it on the August 1st.
Okay,
meeting.
that's what I was thinking. Then we
Yeah.
can nail it down.
Okay. Is that good with you folks?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And then that's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Keisha. Y'all have any questions for Ms. Keisha?
No, sir.
Okay. Mr. Russell R., Genovia.
Thank you. On our lighthouse project, I can tell you that Phase 1 is completely closed out and in operation. The water portion in Lighthouse is completely closed out and in operation. And for Phase 2, there's one installation and a few punch list items remaining. So that will be taken care of within this next month.
Nice.
On Marine Street, the electrical work at the pavilion is starting, and the change order work will begin next week on Tuesday. And that would include the trench drain at the sidewalk there. So, on our Lanark projects, the sewer rehabilitation projects, Lanark East, we're still on track for a letting later this month, and we would anticipate construction would be complete by November of this year. Lanark West sewer rehabilitation, on track for a September letting, and construction would be complete in March of '25. The Lanark Southwest, that's the large area that we're applying for the grant for. That grant application was originally due June 30th. They've changed it to June 15th. And we've got that application prepared, and we'll be making that submittal tomorrow.
Is that June or July?
I'm sorry, July.
Yeah, thank you, Corey.
July, thank you, July.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the water supply well, this would be a new well, number 5. We're responding to the agency review comments there and working with staff to develop some reports that are required. And on the 5th Street resurfacing, issued that contract and the change orders for the 3rd and 5th and Gray. And I will let you know, I'll let Courtney know when the contractor's scheduled to begin that work.
Okay.
Okay, and that's all I have for today.
Any questions from the commission?
Yeah, where's number 5 going to be drilled? What
Uh,
location?
At the water plant.
At the water plant?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Okay.
Okay, is that it? Thank you, Mr. Russell.
Thank you.
Okay, advisory board reports. Do we have any of the advisory board people here tonight?
Just me.
Oh, there you are, Miss Tamara.
Short.
You were hidden behind the podium, lady.
I'm short. I have a new thing. You're supposed to hear me better.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can or not, but Keisha's passing out an invitation to the retirement party for Joan Mady. She's been the curator at the Carrabelle History Museum for 16 years, and June was her last month, so she's retiring. And we're having a party, and we'd like for you all to please come, as well as the public. And we're working on a number of projects. The elevators all fabulous at the museum, and we're still very happy with that. And I don't know if you've ever noticed, but there's a big piece of wood sitting in the front yard of the museum. We finally got a sign for it. It's actually part of the train trestle that went over the 10th Street Creek. So it was some of the last proof of the railroad that was here. And so we now have a nice sign that explains that. And we've had a number of people in our block concerned about the lack of non-handicap parking. And so one of the things that I'm going to suggest is that we look at removing, we've got like three handicap spots, 2 ramps and 2 big, huge parking places in a single block area. And it's excessive for what we have there and what the law requires. So we might need to look at, there's no place for patrons of the businesses to park if they're not handicapped. So it would be helpful to take that under some consideration as we find a way to fit it into a project that's going on. And finally, the thing that really we're excited about, we're working on a display about the city government of Carrabelle. And we want a complete list of the mayors and their pictures and the police chiefs and their pictures and other key people through the years. We, however, have large gaps back in the early days, especially in the teens and 20s, with no pictures, no names of people that were mayor back then. So if anybody or their families have photographs or can just give me a time frame, but surprisingly, the county records burned at the same years that ours did. So there's 20, 30 years in there where there's no official records left. And I know that families know that their grandfather or great-grandfather was a mayor, but we would like to get photographs of them as well. So hopefully, the only mayors we have photographs of are the last 4. So there were a whole bunch of them before that. So we would appreciate whatever help anybody could give us on those things.
Okay, Ms. Tamara, we'll certainly spread that around. I just sitting here thinking, though, as far as me, I just was thinking, the old timers that I used to be able to talk to and get information from,
Right. They're gone.
they're just about gone.
I know.
My Uncle Cecil's one of the oldest ones that's still here,
That's true.
and but the rest of them, they're all about gone.
Yep.
I'm the old timer now for some reason. So anyway, but we'll try to help with that as best we can and spread the word. And
You
for
should
Miss
have, you should have a picture of Uncle Charles Millender. He was mayor.
yes,
That would be,
yes,
we don't have one of those.
yeah.
That would be great.
But anyway, on Miss Joan Mady, please express to her our gratitude for the 16 years that she has dedicated her volunteer work to the museum. I know I've personally, over the last 7 years, have had the opportunity to be around her off and on and watch the work that she's done at the History Museum as a volunteer with you. And she's done wonderful work, very dedicated, very knowledgeable, and I'm proud for her to be able to retire, enjoy things that she likes to do, but we very much are appreciative of what she's done at the History
Right.
Museum. And I plan to be there on the 16th, I think,
Okay.
from
Good.
4 to 6.
Yeah.
Yep, yep.
19.
The
19th, that's correct,
Okay.
yep.
Well, everyone's invited, and I think she deserves a good send-off.
She
because
does.
she's been
Yes.
has been really a mainstay of that museum for a long time. So,
And I know I say it a lot, all the volunteers deserve a pat, and more than a pat on the back. They do great work.
well,
Thank-
thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you, Miss Tamara.
Oh,
Whoa.
Not a good thing, sorry.
just okay.
No. Do we have any other of the advisory boards here that I'm missing? Okay. Public hearings, we have none. The next thing is a quasi judicial hearing. And I'll adjourn the regular city meeting to enter into the quasi judicial hearing. And number 1 is a public hearing for proposed voluntary annexation at 216 Airport Road, and no action will be taken. And I guess I'll turn this over to Ms. Keisha.
Yeah, so this is just one of 3 public hearings that are required for an annexation. This is a voluntary annexation. He wants to annex in as commercial property. The plant next door is commercial property as well. And then even Jordan Bayou is zoned commercial, but it has a PUD, so it's surrounded. And then all of it on 98 obviously is commercial, so it's just a public hearing. We mailed out notices. We will have to move forward with the official ordinance and advertisements, but it's just one step of the process. So.
Okay, thank you. And that's the reason for no action tonight. It's just the beginning, as the clerk explained.
And then if anyone
So-
that got notices is here that wants to speak,
Correct. Yep. Good point. Commissioner Brown?
Is this commercial C1 or C2?
C1.
Okay, thank you.
Any other question from the board?
No, sir.
Anyone in the public wish to make comment? Okay, thank you. The quasi judicial hearing is closed, and we're back into our regular city commission meeting. And we'll go to new business. And the first item on the agenda is discussion and possible action concerning ordinance number 495, commercial vehicle truck route, requested by Clint Brown. And Mr. Brown, before you come up, I'm going to open with a little statement, and then I'm going to turn it over to the attorney, and he's going to give us a briefing, if you will, some history, some purpose, and some content of what our truck route is. And in the beginning, what I'd like to say is we're all here, and we're all here to do some business. I expect everyone that wants to speak, when you're recognized to come up and speak, come up, give your name for the public record, maintain some positive comments, talking out of turn, offensive. If we get disorderly, I'll ask for you to leave. If you don't do that, I'll ask for the officers to remove you if you get disorderly. But I don't think that's going to happen. I don't expect that. But we want this to be a productive product, a productive meeting for what we're going to be talking about here tonight. And again, before I turn it over to the attorney, and then I'll have Mr. Clint Brown be the first one to come up. We hear you folks. I'm going to go ahead and open it and make that statement. We hear what some of your concerns are. There will, unless this board chooses to do differently, there will not be any action taken tonight. We'll listen to you, but we haven't discussed privately, but we've talked with the city administrator. I have, city attorney, and I think this board is leaning toward having a workshop for this particular subject alone on 25th. Is that correct, Ms. Courtney? On July the 25th, which would be a Thursday, at 5:30 or 6, whatever's convenient to you business people out there. And that way we can discuss and interact and go back and forth. And what we're going to do here tonight is we hope you're going to convey your message to us tonight to where these members of the commission can go back and digest and research and give consideration to what your concerns are. And with that, I appreciate you coming, appreciate you being here, and I'm going to turn it over to the attorney, and we'll get started with him. And thank you, Dan.
All right, just so everybody is on the same page as far as how we got here with Ordinance 495, it's what everybody calls the truck route ordinance. So the city has had a truck route ordinance since 1980. There was 2 ordinances passed that year related to the truck route, 163 and 164. And then it moved forward into about November 2006 when the county, I believe they paved Lake Morality around that time, and the county designated Lake Morality Road to be a truck route, part of the county truck route. And then the city passed a truck route ordinance amending the 1981 in 2015. It was Ordinance 461, which provided for a truck route of Lake Morality Road onto the east of the city and Three Rivers and Ryan Drive to the west of the city. And that's found in Chapter 66, Articles 66-61, 62, and 63. So then the city embarked more recently, over probably in the last 2 years, on workshops, a number of meetings on another truck route ordinance that would amend 461, but what it did is replaced it. And that's ordinance 495. And the reasons talked about at those meetings were things like, the really two big reasons, safety and the damage being caused to the roads by the cumulative trips by by the heavier vehicles on city roads. The safety part, because the city, with the golf cart ordinance, had basically blanketed the city and parts of 67 and everything else to be for golf carts, one reason, but obviously big trucks running through on city streets can be a safety issue. And then number two, the kind of shocking increase in cost. We experienced it on Ryan Drive, where we participated with the county to repair that culvert, but it's all been hundreds of thousands of dollars. So it's very expensive to repair the damage that's caused in part by these cumulative heavy trucks running on city roads that were not designed for those like state roads are. And so we had those hearings, we passed ordinance 495, which is what's causing the problems. And under ordinance 495, why it's a hassle for folks and they're understandably upset about it is, and again, I know this is deja vu for a lot of people because we talked about this for many, many meetings before it was enacted, but it's trucks coming south on 67, even if they're headed, say, to the island, they have to go around on Lake Morality, get on 98, and transit the city, come right through the city. So that from that direction. Then trucks traveling west on Highway 98, they have to basically, and they want to go north on 67, they got to go all the way through the city to Lake Morality, go north, and then hit 67 and go north. And then trucks traveling east on Highway 98 that want to go, that are traveling east, they turn north on Lake Morality Road in order to go north on 67. So literally everybody who wants to go north on 67 has to use Lake Morality Road. So they're not running on interior city streets. And then anybody can run east-west right on 98. So that's the current truck route that was passed for ordinance 495. And the ordinance contained a lot of issues in it that regulated things, which was weight, the definitions of regulated trucks. One clarification, just to be clear, it's consistent with statute, is that on 67, the city does not enforce or cannot enforce when it's on the county road portion of 67. But once you're within the city limits, which is right around Three Rivers, the power station, substation, that's where the city is on both sides of the road, and pursuant to Florida law, 316.006, Florida statutes, and the Constitution, the city has jurisdiction over its city streets. So that's where the authority for the ordinance came from, and the goals we're trying to accomplish that were talked about at all those meetings was, again, safety and the fact that the city doesn't have the financial wherewithal to make some of these major repairs that had been made in the past, but the cost of doing those repairs has just gone up, and that's where Russell probably are more of a Russell. He gives us bad news on that stuff all the time. But I can answer any legal questions or and certainly any of the history that I'm aware of. I can answer those for anybody.
Okay, any comment from the board?
I have some questions.
Okay.
Just to clarify.
Yes.
So, I know, obviously the one we just passed. When was the weight of the 10,000 pounds or 1 ton added to the ordinance? Was that from the original 1980? Do you know?
I'll get you an answer on that. I can find out when it was, if it was the 2015.
Okay.
I'm really looking at the 2015. I did not go back and go through the 1980 ordinances because they're
But the
twice
2015 had
replaced.
the weight then?
I don't know. I'll have to check. I believe it might have been just description of truck, meaning number of axles and things like that.
Okay.
I'll let you know. I'll look it up right now.
Okay, Mr. Attorney,
Yes.
I'd like for you to clarify one other thing. And maybe I missed it, I don't think I did in your presentation, is for the benefit of the audience and benefit of the public that's listening in here. What was just described on the ordinance and travel patterns is for people or for truckers, if you will, to use a term, traveling through the city. That has nothing to do with a person doing a job inside the city limits of Carrabelle. No one is being restricted to come inside the city limits and perform their normal work.
Correct. If you needed a load of dirt in a loaded up dump truck of whatever size at a location within the city, they can go to that location and do their work.
That's correct.
So they just need to return to the truck route when they leave that location, right? And they say by the shortest distance, and I know that it's just, they need to just return to the truck route once they've finished their business inside the city. But they can absolutely enter the city to do jobs in the city.
Yes, I just wanted to make it clear because I've read some comments and I've heard some comments that our truck route ordinance had stopped all business, trucking business in the city, and that couldn't be further from the truth. That's not true. We don't mean to stifle anyone from doing their work and doing their job and making a living and providing that service to the community. Any other comment? Okay. Okay. Mr. Attorney, are you finished?
I am.
Okay. Mr. Brown, you were first on the agenda. And again, what we're going to do here is I'd love for you to come up and share your positive thoughts and information with us on your feelings and concerns. And I don't think, unless the board tells me differently here, the majority, we're going to take any action. We're going to listen to everybody, and we're going to schedule a workshop to where we can sit, just us and you truckers, and it'll give us an opportunity from what information we get from you tonight. It'll give us the opportunity to research and do our homework on what we need to know. Thank you, sir. And if you would, pronounce your name for the benefit of the record.
Clinton Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
I'm glad you brought up safety. I've been driving a truck for 23 years. Operate equipment, hauling anything. I've taken Smith system trainings. I've taken numbers of safety courses for driving. My thing is 1st Street East and 3rd Street East, it takes a truck at 35 mile an hour loaded. It takes them almost 180 feet to stop. We can't see anything around by them stores. For the westerly route, Lake Morality is great going to the Landmark and stuff. The westerly route is the problem of y'all forcing us to come right through the most congested part of the city. And it causes, I mean, honestly, I'm just going to be truthful with you. I'm not going to go through there. The buildings are too close to the road. The truck can't stop in time. Somebody pulls out of that store in front of me, they're going into a building. When I drove over in Panama City, I had a lady cut out in front of me and lock them down. I hit her at 15 miles an hour, and I shot her 40 feet. Now, if somebody cuts out of the store, comes out of 1st Street, it's the main one. Somebody comes out of that road, it's not like 2 cars hitting and it turned into just, bam, they stop. When a truck at 35 smacks something, that car's flying. And it's usually not good. We need a westerly route to get around the congestion of the city out here. Because it's not only dangerous for us, because 9 times out of 10 we get in an accident with a car. The person in the car is really mangled or they're dead. Now, I mean, and then the crosswalk right down from it. We're coming around that corner. You can't see far enough to get that truck stopped in time. Whether we jake brake, whatever. So, I mean, it's not, I get it, the roads around here they're old roads. We'll just go with that. But what if it's your mom or your daughter or your wife or your husband in that car that all of a sudden, oh, I need a drink from the store and I can't get stopped in time. Something happens to them now, I got to live with that because I'm not really going to get hurt. I'm in a giant piece of metal. That's my issue about it's the safety.
Okay.
Not only just for us, but for everybody else. And I mean, I've gotten 3 ordinance tickets. I'm still not going down through there.
Excuse me?
I've gotten 3 ordinance tickets, and I'm not going back down through there.
Yeah.
I will not go Lake Morality through the center of town.
Yeah.
Just for my fact of one of y'all cut out, I don't want to be responsible for putting y'all in the hospital,
Right.
even though if it wasn't my fault or not.
Okay. Thank you for your comments. You did well. Thank you very much.
I need to ask him something.
Okay, Mr. Brown,
Yes.
could you hold on just a minute? We have a commissioner that wants to ask you a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm just a little bit confused. Were you referring to driving down Highway 98?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify
Yes,
that.
going down 98.
He was, yeah.
Okay,
From going west towards East Point.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, there's a lot of, that's building up a lot faster than over here. Most of the guys here will tell you most of our work's that way.
That's right. Yep.
I mean, Carrabelle's growing too, but
So
because
is,
of the island, they're
so is
blowing
it.
up a little faster.
Island East Point's booming, yep.
Yeah.
okay, thank
Any
you.
further questions for Mr. Brown?
No, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought so.
I had the same one, but I'd already answered mine, so. Keisha, do you have any cards? Who do we have next?
Kai Nelson?
Okay.
Afternoon, Commissioners.
Hey, Mr. Nelson.
I think most of you guys know me. I'm Kai Nelson. I own Crooked Creek Land Development. Our shop's right there on Highway 67. As we know, we have a little bit of a jurisdiction situation going on out there. You know, city of Carrabelle on one side, county on the other. And then the county owns the highway all the way down to, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that swamp, middle of that swamp right past Three Rivers Road, correct? So we've been operating here for almost about 6 years now, I think, and we've been using that route down Ryan Drive, which whoever made that ordinance back in the 80s kind of knew what they were doing for the most part. The road's wider than, it was built wider than anything else. Less chance of hitting anything, taking wide loads or whatever. It's on the outskirts of town. It's the least densely populated part of the city. I understand you guys have some sort of maintenance issues over a long time. I mean, does anybody know when that thing was paved last time?
I don't. I have no idea when it was paved. Now, we just did that culvert, which you probably know about that over there within the last 2 years, but I don't know when it was paved, Mr. Nelson.
Do you know if it was replaced as standard or if it was just a Band-Aid repair
On what?
on that culvert?
Oh, that was a complete replacement. Mr. Large right there can tell you that.
So it's replaced to standard, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That was about, what, 2 years ago?
I think so, yeah.
How many paving projects have you guys done in the last 2 years throughout the city?
Well, I could start answering.
Roughly. I mean.
I could start answering your questions, but does it pertain to the truck route
No,
ordinance?
it does. I mean, I'm just saying,
Okay.
I mean, if we're dumping money towards paving city
Yeah.
streets,
Yeah,
why can't we resurface the road? I mean, if the thing about asphalt is it has a lifespan, but if you resurface it and tackle it at various times, I mean, we do this type of stuff for a living. We're site work contractors, you know, anything under the sun in this route. If you take care of your pavement by resurfacing it over a period of time rather than just letting it go down the drain, it will last longer. I guess, I mean, my concern is why are we creating a commotion over something that's been good since 1980, has worked since 1980, now just because we're having issues of not maintaining a road when we're maintaining other streets? Why can't we maintain Ryan Drive? And keep, like Clint said, us out of the hazard of the public. I mean, 98 is 98 is really bad. I don't care which way you come out of there, whether you go all the way down 67, turn out, you take Avenue A, turn out, whether you turn any of the side streets and try to come out, or if you're even coming down Highway 98 headed west or east. We're getting busier. We know we're getting busier. It seems like we have a new festival every month, which is great, and there's tons of people in town, which is great. But we don't have a stoplight. We don't have anything. These people are walking out in the middle of the street. And the thing about air brake trucks, I mean, we're grossing out at 70, 80,000 pounds. You can't stop. You just can't. I mean, you're driving, so you're driving a 10-speed, 12, 15-speed truck, and you have to downshift and use the engine to slow down with a jake brake, which is loud and noisy and cumbersome. And then you're also relying on your brakes. If you lock up air brakes, that truck's going to go sideways. You're going to jackknife your trailer. You're going to flip over. You're going to hit somebody because you're not going to stop right away. And I don't care what you hit with that truck, it's going to demolish it. So what makes the most sense, and I'll take 4th of July, for example. You have everybody parked out in the center of town. Everybody's having a good time. People are walking across the street, jaywalking, all that kind of stuff, which is what normal people do, especially in situations like this. If we take Ryan Drive, we're going to pop out of the foot of the bridge where all the congestion is gone. All the congestion is to the east. And then we can turn out and go on the highway. Be very unlikely to see anybody in that time. Not to mention, I mean, I'm pulled up. I just pulled it up on the city's ordinances. The ordinance is still on there that designates Highway 67 south to Three Rivers Road to Ryan Drive to Highway 98 is a designated truck route. It had been in place up until you guys repealed it with Ordinance 495 2 months ago, May, right? So that had been there. I had that truck route, and then it had an additional truck route, 461. And whether or not that's a clerical error or not, I mean, people have been using that as a truck route up until, well, I don't think anybody heeded the signs that were there anyways, because they say no through trucks. A no through truck, in trucking school, if you have business inside of that route, you're exempt. You don't adhere to those signs at all.
Mr. Nelson, I
Yes.
don't mean to cut you short, but we want to give everyone an opportunity to speak.
Okay.
And if you could, move it along, please.
Okay. Just have a couple technical questions that will help you guys formulate what you guys are going to be going through, looking at, so as far as legal questions for Mr. Hartman. Does a state or county have any jurisdiction over Highway 67 whatsoever? I know city does, but do they have any kind of jurisdiction at all?
So it is a county road, so they have some responsibility on maintenance and that sort of thing.
Okay.
So that's, yeah.
Um,
And if you want to think of it this way, because we've had back and forth with the county, almost like joint jurisdiction. Right?
Okay.
Like if we want to put a sign up on it, we would certainly check with them, but it's within our municipal boundaries. The portion of 67 within our municipal boundaries, we have jurisdiction over it as well.
what about Ryan Drive?
So the reason I'm smiling is it came up during the culvert repair because
Mm-hmm.
it was, how much was that? I'm throwing numbers around. 90 grand, okay. We paid 90. It was split 50-50 with
Yes.
the county because we had a controversy over when it came to obviously an expensive $180,000 repair, who was responsible for it, and we agreed to disagree and split the baby, each paying half. So it would be very similar from our position. It's the same as 67. Ryan Drive is.
Okay. Do traffic laws have to be posted with signage? So if I'm driving down the road and I don't see if there's no sign saying I can't do something, can I get a ticket for that sign? For disobeying the law that is not posted?
Probably a statutory question. I can look it up and get back to you.
Okay.
Yep.
Good answer. Where are the no truck signs posted in the city? Are you aware of where they're at?
I am not aware of where they're at.
Okay. I can tell you there's one posted at the at the foot of Ryan Drive at 98, and there's one posted at Three Rivers Road where it pops out on 67. Where I think it's still 67 at that point. Okay. I know it has a GVWR and a GCWR determination on your ordinance. How are you guys determining GVWR and GCWR? Like because I know that the police officers are pretty confused by it. Are you aware?
Remember, we did a lot of meetings on this, and we did go through it. Let me look at how they define it. It would be how it's defined in the ordinance.
And
So it's whatever the the ordinance says.
So
that we-
GCWR is the single truck that it's
the
pulling.
combined weight. Of
Oh yeah,
truck and trailer.
GCWR is the gross combined weight rating, which is the weight rating of the truck and the trailer combo.
the combo.
Yeah,
That's
and
correct.
the GVWR is gross vehicle weight rating, which is what the truck is,
Or the trailer by itself.
or the trailer by itself.
Yes,
so
correct.
I've owned just about every size pickup truck you can say, but a single rear wheel F-250 has a GVWR of 10,000 pounds and meets the criteria on that of not being able to drive within the city.
Point taken.
And then anything higher, obviously. And then DOT numbers, that's a whole nother complicated issue, but basically if you're in commercial business and you have a GCWR, which is a truck and a trailer, so it could be a Toyota Tacoma and a lawn trailer, you're technically supposed to have DOT numbers if you're in the business of commercial business. But where was I going with that? Okay, so the one thing that I do want to bring up that it seems like everybody's kind of confused about, we're getting tickets for entering into the city and not returning what is the shortest route back to wherever the no truck route is, or no, that designated truck route is. For example, Clint lives over on Avenue K, and our shop is on Highway 67. When he goes home, he is told that he has to, or say he wants to go, he's at his house, he needs to go downtown or whatever, or Avenue, let's just say Avenue A. He can't drive from his house on Avenue K down 67 to Avenue A. Police want us to go all the way up 67, all the way to Lake Morality, and then come all the way back around and come here. Well, also the problem with that is we're local trucks. We're not required by law to have logbooks. We're within 100 air miles. That's FMSCA law. We don't have to have logbooks. So we don't schedule routes officially. We take whatever route makes the most sense and the shortest route possible anyways. But there's this massive conflict of how we're getting places, and we're not being believed that we're going these places. And frankly, wherever we're going, it's really nobody's business other than ours. If I say my truck's going to Avenue H, it's going to go to Avenue H, you know?
Are you winding down?
I am winding down, but I got one more for you. I'm trying to remember, so I was on track here.
I'm giving you some leeway. So
Okay,
if
just
you
a little
will,
bit of
tighten it
leeway.
up.
Golly. Where in the ordinance, Mr. Hartman, excludes boats and campers from being prosecuted under this ordinance? Or even allows recreational use?
I know we're talking about designated commercial vehicles, so if it's, getting into the weeds, but.
Because I know there's a section that says regulated vehicle, and then it lists 3 specific criteria of what makes it a regulated vehicle.
And it talks about use of city streets by certain identified trucks and trailers. And again, the way we're identifying them is, as we talked about, different weights, regulated trucks. And we sprinkle in commercial, that they are commercial vehicles. So that's here that, I suppose, I don't want to get into like hypotheticals, but if you were operating the RV for commercial purposes, you might be regulated. But if you're not, if it's not a commercial RV, so like you're saying, you could have one of those massive $1 million privately owned ones, you're not, it's not.
But you guys made a what is determined regulated vehicles, right? Under those three determining criteria: 6 wheels or more, GVWR 10,000 more, and or requires a DOT number.
Our definition of regulated truck is in the definition section.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's, and then
The GV, yeah.
I have one other thing that I'd like to read you. It's
Well-
constitutional law. It's really important because I think you guys would be
Well, it was one other thing coupled
Yeah.
back, so come on.
okay. Well, I'd always come back up, but I'll read it to you, and I shouldn't come back up anymore. All right, this is America Jurisprudence, First Constitutional Law, Section 329, page 1135. The right of a citizen to travel upon the public highways and to transport his properties thereon by horse-drawn carriage, wagon, or automobile is not a mere privilege, but may be permitted or prohibited at will, or which may be permitted or prohibited at will, but a common right which he has under his right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Under this constitutional guarantee, one may therefore, under normal conditions, travel at his inclination along the public highways or in public places, and while conducting himself in an orderly and decent manner, neither interfering with nor disturbing another's rights, he will be protected not only in his person, but in his safe conduct. And I just want to leave you with that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right.
Commissioner Brown, I just want to answer your question in the old ordinance 461. The regulated truck was a vehicle with 6 or more tires, except step vans, and pickup trucks with a capacity of 1 ton or less.
Or less.
That's not.
So that's
Yeah.
kind of where that 10,000 pounds came in?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Well,
we talked about the 10,000 pounds, but it was pulling from, it's probably the lowest DOT
Gotcha.
kind of rating number, but they're,
But that's a message that we're receiving loud and clear.
yeah.
Yes.
But understand the weight
Yes.
issue. And then
Yes.
under the old ones, the other one was a vehicle required by law to display a DOT number or gross vehicle weight
Yeah.
rating. So that was under the old ones, that was the definition of regular vehicle,
Okay,
and we did change it, but that's the old one.
thank you.
Are you ready for the next?
Yes. Go ahead.
Me or him? Me.
You.
Me, okay. John McKnight.
John McKnight. I've had a Class A CDL since 1986, which I think is 38 years. Been in the trucking business for 30 years. Or actually 35 years. I've hauled seafood to Chattanooga, Tennessee. I've been in Biloxi in seafood trucks. I've hauled wood chips, grossing 90 and 95,000 pounds. And if them chip trucks were running through Carrabelle today as they were in the 90s, they would probably be casualties once a week because you can't stop a 90,000 pound truck. Had a woman slam on brakes in front of me just the other morning, turn into the new dollar store right at Fallon's. If I'd have been loaded, I'd have took them out. Nowhere to go. Big truck coming opposite directions. She's sitting in a Mazda in the middle of the road. So here we go. It's not very safe to run big trucks through the middle of town. Traffic's 100 times worse than it was 10 years ago. And as he just stated, any truck with 6 wheels is considered a regulated truck. So that means if you, Mr. Mayor, owned a dually, you couldn't legally leave your house. Right? Right?
No, sorry, the, what I was reading from was the old ordinance. So that one is not on the
I got
books.
it right here.
Is that still in the new one?
A vehicle with 6 or more tires.
That's right. No, you're right.
So if you lived in Carrabelle and you owned a dually, you couldn't leave your house and ride on the city
But remember,
streets legally.
we're talking about commercial vehicles.
No, we're not. It don't say commercial. It says
It
a
is.
regulated truck means a vehicle with 6 or more tires.
So the very ordinance that you're citing, the heading is commercial trucks.
But
So
it
it's a-
ain't specified here.
It does throughout the ordinance.
No.
So I understand what you're saying, but if you were using that dually for commercial purposes, you'd have to take the shortest route from your home to the truck route. You would. You wouldn't be running it through town if you're not, yeah. You're not wrong.
I don't have a truck registered in a company name. So does that make it a commercial truck?
No, if it's used for commercial purposes, right? You could be a
It's a
owner.
personal truck.
That's fine.
I've got a
If you're just-
personal Dodge.
Yep. If you're not using it to do jobs, you're not using it on the job, then you're good. There would be no problem.
Well, you're talking about using on a job. It doesn't matter if I'm using on a job. It's in my personal name. I do not have commercial insurance on it because it's not registered commercial.
But if you're using it for a commercial purpose, it's a regulated truck. That's all.
Well, it's very discriminating, this ordinance is, because then it says a vehicle with a GCVR, a GVWR to more than 10,000. That includes every 1-ton dually truck on the road.
Well, that's the point, John, that
I
I've
see trucks with names on the doors at the boat ramp. So that's a commercial truck pulling a boat on a city street.
If it's being used for, if he's pulling boats for a living,
No,
that shouldn't be on the city
it's a
street.
commercial truck. You just said if it's a commercial truck. No matter what he's pulling,
Do with this one. If you're a person and you just like commercial stuff, you buy one of those monster F-350 or something like this, but it's your personal truck, it is not regulated. Drive that on city streets.
I have a personal Cummins Dodge.
Drive it. No problem.
So I can pull my farm tractor all over Carrabelle with it. My personal farm tractor that I use to plant food pots and mow.
I mean, go through these scenarios, but if you had to do that, and for personal reasons, no, it's not commercial. You're not going and bush hogging someone else's property or working on someone else's property with that
bush
tractor.
hog.
You're good.
Okay, I got another issue. About 3 weeks ago, I had a load of dirt deliver inside the city limits, just north of the substation on 67, 300 yards maybe, on the west side, east side, so it would be in the city limits. I get a load of dirt, I come in, I come around town, I turn on Ryan Drive like I was instructed to do if I had a drop in the city. I go unload my dirt, I come back into town, or I come back up the way I went, backtracking. Radar Tim sitting at the station, waiting on me. I have a property 150 yards north of Ryan Drive on 3rd Street. A house that I own, pay city property taxes on. The end of my day, I'm done. I turn into my house to check the air conditioning unit because we've been having problems. I'm picking up garbage in the yard from the bear throwing it. Radar Tim pulls up behind my truck, which is completely shut down, gets out telling me he's gonna write me a citation. I can't have my truck there. So I've got a citation. So, what's up with that? Tell me I can't go to my house.
Well, the ordinance says primary residence, and that's not his primary residence.
Well, we're gonna let a judge decide.
Well, I'm
I'm
just-
waiting on a court date right now.
I'm just stating, John, you're talking to us, and I'm just
Well, I'm
stating what
telling
the
you
ordinance
some of the
says.
issues.
Yeah.
So, I'm taking the shortest route back to 98 when I leave David Langston's house.
Okay.
It specifically says in here, the last drop in the city, proceed back to 98 through the shortest route. The shortest route back is going the way I went and going back up Ryan Drive at the bridge. And like you say, you just can't stop these trucks. I think he said 182 foot. I'll be lucky to stop mine in 300 yards or 100 yards.
Yeah.
You got 12 sets of brakes, but still, if you're hauling maxed out, I'm weighing 70,000. When I haul dirt around here locally, I may weigh 65.
Yeah.
But if you want to know what's tearing up your city streets, It's the garbage trucks. Not us that come in here 2 or 3 times a week. They're in here 2 or 3 times a week all day long. So Apalachicola, no garbage trucks runs on their streets. They run through the alleys. Been that way forever. So maybe y'all should look into open up the alleys and put the garbage trucks in the alleys. If you want to save the streets.
Yeah.
Because I seen where she posted, it's a save the streets ordinance. Thanks.
Thank you, John. Ms. Keisha?
Sean Oxendine.
My name's Sean Oxendine. I appreciate y'all's time. I got grandyoungins that live on Ryan Drive. I didn't realize how bad it was to stop a truck. Maybe we need to lower the speed limit to 15. There's people with the golf carts riding around. My grandyoungins learning to ride a bicycle. I don't know what the answer is, but a commercial vehicle, in my mind, requires a CDL driver's license to use it. Maybe something needs to be reworked to where if you're required to have a CDL driver's license, then you're required to use the truck route. I mean, that would take care, in my little brain, that would take care of the big boats and the big motorhomes and all that. If it requires a CDL, then use the truck route. And I appreciate y'all for your time. Thank you.
Thank you. That was quick.
Let's see if we can match that, Mr. Vance Pedrick.
Hey, good afternoon, mayors, commissioners. A couple of things that I learned sitting here. My first thing is workshop, open to all the public, correct?
Excuse me?
I said the workshop's open to all the public, right?
It is, yes.
Okay, and probably the biggest question for me here is, you said the workshop on the 25th. Today's the 11th. So what is the guidance from here to the workshop and beyond for everybody to be clear and on the same page of how the city's going to enforce and react to this
Okay,
ordinance?
real quick, I'll try to give you a summary, and Mr. Attorney, if I get out of the legal realm of it, you can straighten me out. We have a legal process to do. If we make any kind of adjustment or change or create an ordinance or make an adjustment, change, what have you, whatever variation that is, there's a process that lawfully we have to go through. Okay, and the purpose, my thought was, and I think these other commissioners are feeling the same thing about the workshop that was mentioned. And the workshop is open to the public, but usually a workshop is designed for one specific subject and not a whole agenda of subjects. And what I foresee on the 25th at 6 o'clock p.m., if that's what the motion is made tonight, to have that workshop, is this same board will sit here and we will be better suited to have an open discussion and exchange of conversation back and forth with the commercial trucking business, because we're hearing some of those concerns tonight. And that'll give us from tonight until the 25th to digest some of this information and concerns that they have, and we can do some research and follow up. That attorney can do the same thing, staff can do the same thing. But anyway, we'll be better prepared to have an open discussion to see if we're going to do any adjusting to the current truck route ordinance. Does that make sense?
It does, but
Okay.
and I'll add that 10,000 pounds is way too low. I mean, by the definition, to no matter what, and pretty much what you're saying for me is if my lawn trailer and my truck, and I put too much equipment on my trailer, that I have to go all the way around, because by the definition of a commercial vehicle, I'm a commercial vehicle.
I think you've heard me say about 4 times already that we hear you loud and clear on the 10,000 pounds.
Right.
And
So-
that sends a message.
So it does, and I'll be at the special meeting, but I just wanted, in the meantime, just so I'm straight, the ordinance is in effect, will be enforced until the workshop's done, 3 readings are done, or 2, however many. So we could continue having this issue for the next 3 months unless we throw some special meetings in the mix.
I don't know what you mean by special meetings.
The ordinance has to be read multiple times in order to do that. You have to, unless you're going to do it once each month and take 3 months for us to get an answer to this, you'll have to schedule
It
special
won't take
meetings.
3 months, Mr. Attorney.
Not entirely. It's just, we have a
Exactly.
workshop this month, and then if there are changes that you would want to see, we could do first reading, then second reading.
Correct.
We can't do first reading in September. All right. So then first reading would be October, second reading November.
Yeah.
Well, we couldn't
there
get
were
it
changes.
August, it would have to be, if we couldn't do it August 1st, we wouldn't have time to advertise.
September, October.
We could do it either a special meeting in August, and we could schedule that at the August 1st meeting, or we could have first reading in September, and then have another one later in September. However, but we will not be able to get it on August 1st if we have it late in.
Yep, and let me add, we will expedite it as quick as we can reasonably and legally
Awesome.
if we make a change.
Thank you. I'll see you at the workshop.
I've got one more.
Yes, ma'am?
Casey Roberts.
Hey, Miss Casey.
Okay, Casey Roberts. I just have a question. How are you guys deciding what's commercial and what's not commercial? For instance, my husband was pulled over in the city limits in our personal truck and our personal trailer, but he was written a ticket. So I'm just trying to figure out, how are you guys deciding, just because it's a small town?
Was he on a, I mean, this is the thing. Obviously, and just like one of the gentlemen, Mr. McKnight, mentioned, we've written tickets, so they're going to court. If you go to court and you can prove, hey, this has nothing to do with commercial. I wasn't in a work truck. I mean, and again, there's the factors, right? If you can say, hey, you prove it, then the ticket wouldn't stick.
Okay, that's what I need to know. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Miss Casey.
That's all I have for that item.
That's all you have? Okay. Anyone else from the public wish to speak on this? Yes, sir.
My name's Kevin Shire, and I have one question. I have a tractor trailer, and I live off 67. This end of 67, there's absolutely no signs that says no trucks. As soon as you come off Lake Morality Road, there's a sign right there as soon as you turn. I don't bring my trailer home. I just bobtail in and out to go home. Okay, there's been twice I've turned in 67 at night. I won't do it during the day when it's busy to go home because it's 2 miles from there to my house. It's 7.5 that way. But there's no signs there. But there's been an officer, last night it happened, flashed his lights and his sirens, and I kept going. He didn't come to pull me or anything. But what's the ordinance on that?
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Attorney, first of all, the signage on 98 to alert you to 67, we can't do that. DOT does not allow us to put signage on their highway.
Well, I'm just saying on 67 part right here.
Exactly. Now that we could deal with.
Right.
But for anyone that's on 98, there be a sign there to alert truck route. DOT will not allow us to do it. We even asked to put signs on 98 out at the end of Lake Morality Road on 98, and DOT won't allow it.
Right.
So that stops us on putting signage there, but probably the issue on 67 with a sign, we probably could address that. Am I
Well,
right,
no.
Mr. Attorney?
I mean, you are right. And then, but if you're coming from the east, Lake Morality Road is the truck route.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Right. So that is,
Yes.
and I understand. I mean, I get it. Gosh, that's the last thing you want to do when you're coming home after a long day is go an extra 5.5 miles. But that is the truck route. So you would, like, literally, just like any big city where they say, hey, the truck route, bigger cities, you're just stuck with it.
I'm
You
talking
just
about
end up-
coming from the west, coming this way.
Right,
You know,
right,
it's 2 miles to my house, where it's 7.5 if I go that way.
right, right.
You know,
And I think, what is your address? What'd you say your address?
I live off West Drive, Jacob's Way
Off
over
what?
there.
So the distance would be to Lake Morality, not to 98. So that's where the distance is. So your distance would be measured from West Drive to Lake Morality, or from West Drive 298.
But isn't the law inside, because there's no truck sign at this end, no truck sign at this end. I live in between those signs, okay? If you have any business in between those signs, there's no other way to, other than to go through there.
Right.
It is legally right to go in there. If
I'm
you
just saying
live-
that's where the measurements come in.
If you live in that area, per DOT, legally, you can go to your residence if there's no other way in there.
And you can under the ordinance also.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're all right.
Yes.
Yep.
But what I'm saying, I have to put an extra 7.5, 8 miles to go to Lake Morality Road. I'm not gonna do that. 5 miles a gallon in my truck, it costs money every time I go and come from home. And it makes no sense to me. I'm not gonna put anybody in danger. But like I said, I'm between the signs. I should be able to go in at this sign and go to my house. Other than come back out.
So maybe I'm not understanding, is when
Okay.
when you return to your primary residence
Yes.
within the city limits, you can go there, no problem.
Right.
That's not a problem. But if you are, and I get the expense and the cost, and again, from the bigger policy perspective, when the city passed all these ordinances, they recognized that the truckers would be paying more in diesel, right? Because it's inconvenient and it's a large distance. But it's weighing that against the taxpayers in general paying for roads to some extent that are being beat up by trucks. So, subsidizing that. It's just a balance. I mean, I get it that there's always someone's gonna be like, man, that
I understand that.
someone's
but
getting the short end
being
of
beat
it.
up by trucks, but they're again like the garbage trucks. You ever put one on scales? They're
Oh,
they're
yeah,
awful heavy. And then how long has it been since that had been done?
But the problem is garbage trucks. I say the problem. There's no problem. You want them picking up garbage, but they are doing business in the city. Like every
Right.
every
Absolutely.
point they're
And
stopping
they have
at
no
is
other
a
way in
customer.
there.
Right, and you would too. Like if you
Right.
if you had to bring a load or just anything, deliver
Right.
something to someone in the city, you can come on in.
But that's my question. I live between those signs. I should not have to go all the way around the other side to go to my house when I can come off the bridge and go home. That's my thing on it, because that's putting me way out of my way. Say I'm running low on my logbook. I got 5 minutes to be home. I'm 5 minutes from home. I go around there.
Yeah, no,
I'm
no.
15
And actually,
minutes.
this is the thing. I think, and I could get because it's simple but confusing. Is what you're describing? You're coming in on 98. That is the truck route. The shortest distance for you is to go north on 67, 2 miles to your house.
That or Ryan Drive.
And that's fine. You can do that, no problem,
Okay.
right? If you got pulled over, you say, hey, I'm going to my house.
Okay.
But it's under the.
Shortest distance on the regulated street, which is the measurement from Duke Energy to 98. That's the streets we're talking about. That's the city limits.
That is not.
We don't live in the city limits.
Okay.
You travel over.
Right.
So you would be required to go Lake Morality.
Yeah.
What is it?
We need to save this for the workshop.
Right, but that makes no sense because I
we
live
gotta
between the
square
no
this
truck
away.
signs. If there's one at this end and this end, I'm breaking the law coming in this side or this side. I understand what you're saying, the short
Oh,
route.
I'm sorry. And I'm getting myself confused. Is
Dan-
Chief's correct? Is the minimum distance on city streets? So right, if you were only a quarter mile inside the city, from the north,
Right.
yeah, you got to go around and access it from the north.
Dan.
For some reason, I thought you were shorter going north on 67.
We getting in, and that's great, but we getting in a little bit too deep for, this is more like what we gonna do at a workshop.
Okay.
We gonna talk it back and forth.
Okay,
So, but sharing that info with us and giving that to us is great.
all right,
Yep.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Very quick. I know I say that every time. Very
Oh, hey, wait a minute. No, you, very brief now, Kyle.
Okay, so we've established that there is a sign up on Lake Morality, but apparently it's on county property. I don't know if that was put up by the city or the county. As far as I'm understood, they didn't even know it was there. My shop is just south of Lake Morality, just after the prison. When we turn out going south down Highway 67, there is no signs that say no trucks. We go all the way down. We can't turn down Ryan Drive because you guys put a no truck sign there. So we don't go down Ryan Drive anymore. So we go all the way down Highway 98. And then we take a right on Avenue A because that is the pretty much the only place that we can make the turn, and it's really tight and it's really dangerous. I'm going to tell you, it sucks, especially when you're pulling our low boy, which has about a 6-inch clearance and cannot go over the hump at Lake Morality and Highway 67. It bottoms out. It does not make it.
I've heard you say that, but I've got some thoughts there. But this is part of what we want to talk about at the workshop, Kai.
But I just want to make one point.
Yeah.
We don't encounter in a single no truck sign, whether we're coming north or south, on Highway 67.
And I don't want to debate it because this is what we want to do at a workshop. But to make a real quick point, you made the point. Your business is there. You know those signs just to the north of you is there.
Yep, we do.
Okay.
But I do want to make this point, is that
Thank you.
is that we don't have a whole lot of choices here.
Yes.
First off. Second,
Yeah.
you guys don't have any choices of where you guys can put signage. Because if you guys put signage, let's say you're going on a 2-lane highway, and try to put a sign on a 2-lane highway. If the truck, you have to legally give us a detoured route at the time that you detour us.
Okay.
And we just, but the main thing, reason I wanted to come up here was, if this is going to take several months, how many tickets are we going to rack up on a daily basis? And I think it's very important that you guys put some sort of stay on enforcing it. There's plenty of other ordinances in the city that you guys are not enforcing.
Yeah.
I mean, dozens of them.
Well, good.
Cleaning up trash, all kinds of things. And I don't know why we're putting all of this stress on the working man in the middle of an election year, in the middle of a recession. We're doing all this to people that work, live, and breathe. Pretty much everybody in this town.
Mr. Nelson, that's
Yes.
enough.
I appreciate that. Thank
Okay.
you. Have a good one.
Yes, sir.
I'm Jerry Jackson. Most of you know me. I've served on the Planning and Zoning Board on the county and with the City Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. This is a little confusing on some of this. I think the attorney said that pickup trucks and vans were excluded as long as they were not commercial. Capacity of 1 ton or less. I have a dually, and I've had one since I've been living here, since I started coming here. A dually is registered in this state commercially. Am I legal or not? That's the confusing.
I understand. And you are legal unless you're using it for commercial purposes.
Purposes.
Or doing work, right?
But if they stop me pulling my boat and they look up, that vehicle is registered commercial. So how you gonna get around that?
That's not gonna be, it won't be a problem.
A lot of the counties, a lot of the campers and boats that come here are the same way. The trucks make it commercial. Not that they're using them commercially. The
Well-
state of Florida registered it as a commercial vehicle.
Maybe we need to explain this a little bit more because in my mind, I agree with what the attorney's saying, but maybe we need to explain it a little bit more that what you're describing, and I know what you mean because I owned one of those at one time, and it says it's a commercial vehicle because of the classification of it.
That's correct.
But I never used it. It was personal vehicle.
That's mine.
And I know that those officers that are sitting back there and the ones that are not here are very, and every time that law officer goes out there to do his job, whether he's looking at a speeder or a criminal, whatever, they're looking at the law violation, but they're also applying some common sense. And I've been watching this the whole time with this truck route ordinance. They have, even though there's some citations, and I know there's some people that are discontent, and that's the reason why we're here having this discussion, but those officers have tried every effort and still trying to be very lenient and make sure that everybody's informed of what the truck route ordinance is and what it means. And again, if I was taking my pickup truck and using it to do a job for hire and I was getting paid, to me, that's commercial. Okay, but if I'm using my truck for personal use, that's not commercial. Again, that's just me, and I think that's what the ordinance says, but I can see there's some confusion on it. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Okay.
there is some confusion. I think that the workshop's a great idea.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right.
Was that in line there, Mr. Attorney?
100%.
Okay. Anyone else? I don't want to miss anyone.
I think Mr. Kevin.
Who?
Kevin
Okay. Come on.
Just one quick question. Y'all are saying it's because of the weight of the vehicles on the roads. Okay, so what makes the difference between it being commercial and personal? If it's the same weight classification, I just wanted to bring that to the attention as well.
And again, Kevin, this is going to be part of what we want to do at the workshop, but real quick, in my mind, I'll try to tell you what I remember when we were having these discussions. And when we were having these discussions, I want to remind everyone, all of these discussions that we were having when we were working on this ordinance, they were all public, they were all advertised, they were all on Facebook. We begged for folks to come, and nobody came.
Months.
We needed information. We're not the experts, but we're tasked with a job to do. But anyway, I lost my train of thought.
I understand that. I wasn't aware of it until one of the guys stopped me on Ryan Drive and warned me about it. I was coming out.
Right.
But that's what I was concerned about, you know, even like my truck.
Right.
It's in my personal name.
Right.
If I get in it and want to go to the IJ, the grocery store,
Yeah.
it's personal conveyance,
Yeah.
personal time. So
Yeah.
what classifies the difference?
Well, and the other thing where I was going, I got my train of thought back with the recreational type things. We had that discussion, if my memory's right, we had that discussion, and not that we were, if you will, leaning hard against the working class, which we're definitely not. The working class has got to be here. I'm pro-working class, and I think the rest of these commissioners are. But anyway, the working class is the ones that are traveling these streets every day.
Right.
Most of these recreational stuff is in and out.
Yes.
And we didn't feel like that there was enough of that was routine.
Right.
Does that make sense?
I understand.
Okay. But yes, there's getting to be, because it was pointed out tonight, and I see it too. You can't hardly get out on 98 with all the traffic.
Cannot.
So,
Absolutely
and it's
not.
going to get worse. I agree with all that. But I don't want to get off base here because I'm trying to keep y'all. So,
But that was just a question.
all right. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
You just mentioned that we're using the city streets more than the recreational guys. Probably 200 trucks with trailers here 4th of July weekend pulling boats.
Sure. See, that's the reason why I wasn't wanting to say anything, because this is a discussion we need to have at the workshop.
Them 200 trucks and trailers are going to the boat ramp
Yeah.
and leaving the boat ramp.
Yeah,
That's 400 trips a day
yeah,
times 4 days.
yeah.
That's 1,600 times they're on the city streets.
I got your point,
You
John.
know how long it would take me to make 1,600 trips through
I got you.
Years.
I got your point.
Okay.
Anyone else?
I'll speak.
Okay.
Kind of a question, really, other than discriminating part of
Matt
driving truck
Roberts.
now. Yep, it's Matt Roberts. I own the small engine shop and the hauling. But we're gonna be working, Three Rivers, doing a lot of digging, kind of question to ask. Got 2 trucks, we're gonna be running a lot. Where should I tell them to go? I mean, I get tickets everywhere I go, so I mean, where do my trucks need to go? Ryan Drive, Three Rivers, 67, what?
Mr. Hogan?
Working on Three Rivers Road? Yeah, a lot of hauling, I'm talking
Yeah, they should come
hundreds of
from
loads.
the north side of 67 by Duke Energy and leave going the same direction.
I really wasn't listening, what you say again?
What's that?
What you say again, I really wasn't listening.
All right, so the shortest distance traveled on our city streets, and the measuring point is Duke Energy, where Chasing Pond are, the Three Rivers Road, that's only 100 yards. So they would have to come in from the north, do the job, and then leave going back and forth.
Really?
How are we supposed to know
And
these
Ryan
things?
drives right, I mean, I'm at the end of Three Rivers at the turnaround. At the end on the 40 acres back there that everybody knows about.
How are we supposed to know what the shortest route is? We don't plan these trips.
It's not the shortest route, but
Spend all our
anyway,
time-
just let y'all know we're doing that. I'm trying to limit, y'all ain't wrote none of my dump trucks any tickets, cause y'all ain't seen them. I told them to go around.
Exactly.
But my small engine shop is right over here, right across the street from y'all, live right up the road. I'm coming down every day, come down here today. I mean, I got to do it. Y'all want me to go all the way around? I got a job on, Northeast First Street, which will be working on it. I gotta go back and forth. I mean,
Matt, the only thing I'll say, and again, I don't wanna get too far off the soapbox tonight for our workshop, but I'll compliment you, because in the beginning, when they first started the law enforcement officers educating the drivers, I've noticed your equipment, your heavy equipment, you're following the truck route. I've noticed it. Doing good, appreciate that. The issue with the 10,000 pounds, I'll repeat what I've said several times, we hear you loud and clear.
oh, I get it. Y'all gonna do something
Okay.
about that. I mean, but when though?
Well, and again, just to try to say what I've said already, it takes us a process legally to do that.
Well, can we kinda like pause the let's get in ticket kinda stuff? you
We
know?
can,
I mean, cause.
we can,
I mean, cause
Yeah.
we gotta work, you know,
yeah, we can.
and we're gonna workshop time.
Yeah. But it takes us time legally to do it, but what your question is, to answer that, we can. I think this board's agreed to that.
Gotcha.
So,
All right, I appreciate it.
thank you, Matt. Anyone else? You commissioners have any comments?
I'm good. None at this time.
Mr. Hartman? Okay. I'll close out this particular item on the agenda by saying thank every one of you for coming. And I do, and I know the rest of the commissioners do here. I'll speak for myself and them, that we appreciate you coming and sharing your concerns and comments, and look forward to working with you on what we can do at the workshop. Appreciate you.
And can we get a motion for the workshop?
Yes.
I'll make a motion for the workshop.
What time?
What time
works
and
best
date?
for-
That would be July 25th, 6 PM.
Okay, have a motion to have a
You guys do
workshop
that?
concerning the truck route ordinance on July 25th, 6 PM. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Excuse me?
Break.
Oh, break? Okay, let's do that. Let's take 5-minute break. Okay, we're, City Commission's back in session. Next on the agenda is item number 2, and I'm gonna try something a little bit different tonight, approach. City Administrator, she's gonna read the item, and, I'm gonna lead the discussion. And if you would, Miss Courtney?
Item 2, under new business, Sons Project presentation by Mr. Chester Butler.
Mr. Butler?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Good to see you, sir.
You want me to start at the beginning of your presentation, or I've just got some pictures of?
No, what you have is fine. And you know, it's getting close to my bedtime, and y'all been very patient. I promise I'm not gonna say a word about doolies or semi.
Well, you, now, you asked for 6 minutes, Mr. Butler.
I know, I'm getting there. I've shortened it already. So, I'm Chester Butler. Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Commissioners. And certainly, good evening to my neighbors in Franklin County and Carrabelle. I'm a volunteer for an organization called Sons, which is a subsidiary of the Nature Conservancy. We have many working parties that work with us on projects for cities like Carrabelle. And in particular, our area of interest has been Franklin County, Bay County, and Gulf County. We drafted several people when I was drafted to be a liaison for Carrabelle by the prior mayor. Little did I know that what she asked me to do was going to turn into 3 years' work. And let me tell you, the bank does not take a paycheck that says all zeros on it. Nevertheless, it's been quite a journey, and I hope what I'm going to show you tonight will get you excited. So exactly who are our working partners? Well, the most important one in this case has been the Florida Northwest Water District. But we've also consulted with NOAA. In fact, the first year that I was on this project, almost all of my discussions were with NOAA. But we've also enlisted the help of Northeastern University to review our work, and St. Andrews and St. Joe's Estuary Program also looked this over. So that's one I'm going to skip. So how did this all begin? It began with a phone call to the mayor. At that time, it was Mayor LaPaz. She called me after that phone call and said, I don't have time to evaluate all of these projects that maybe will come to pass. Would you consider doing it? And the reason that she asked me, I think, is because she knew that I had been involved with some water issues beginning in the 1970s. So the Sons Group, after I accepted the position with the mayor, the Sons Group began to go to work. And what we were looking for was projects, and my interest, of course, was Carrabelle, projects that gave you the biggest bang for your buck. And what I'm going to show you tonight is a multi-use stormwater storage facility. Now, you already have one. It's up there in front of you. And it sits right behind those little 4 cottages and extends. That's Avenue A, and then Second Street comes in, Second Street Northwest, I believe, comes in, and there's a piece of property there that is used as stormwater collection now. And it's usually overgrown if you've been by there. But the more we looked at that, the more it became more of an exciting project. In fact, when we started out, we thought we would get 5, maybe 6 projects from each of those counties that I named. We got 140. That's the reason it's taken 3 years. You shake down 140 prospects for programs, it takes a long time. Of those 140 projects that were submitted, 6 of them were from Carrabelle. Once we sorted things, we sent that to the Northeastern University and had them check over and try to eliminate any bias that we might have shown. Long story short, of the 6 that was submitted on behalf of Carrabelle, 2 were sent back for more study. We studied those, and frankly, we decided to eliminate them. It was not the time, and we had set some pretty high standards.
And one of the standards I had set with the team was, I'm not gonna take this to the city fathers until I have something to put in their hand. And that's the 36 or 37-page profile that was done by Jacobs Engineering that you asked me about, Mr. Large. Jacob Engineering is one of the largest environmental engineering firms in the world. And those are the people that compose that material that was given to you. So what are we talking about here? Well, we're talking about turning that capacity, enlarging that capacity. In fact, there are several items here, and I'll just read these for the record, what we think this project will do, and then we'll take a look at the project and see what you think. The tags that we had placed, the bases that we wanted to touch with this project were these: stormwater control and a significant increase in the storage capacity of the current basin. This will serve Carrabelle for many years in the future. Improvements of the water quality by new technology for filtering before the water goes into the Carrabelle River and the Carrabelle Harbor. This site will have multi-purpose. This will be a multi-purpose. I'm sorry.
Multi-purpose.
Let's get craftsman. This site will serve many purposes. One of them is recreation for individuals and community activities. We believe that this project will enhance the community's ability to recover from catastrophic storms, and we believe that it can be a town center for community events similar to the Cascades Park in Tallahassee. It can contribute to Carrabelle's economic growth and storm resiliency. It will rid this particular area of invasive plants, and you've got a few. It will improve the value of the residential and business properties in the downtown area. It is nature-based, and that means that it's not going to have the normally high maintenance costs that you have with such a project. It will encourage future economic growth, and it appears that funding is available at a 100% basis. And we'll talk about that a little more in a minute. What we think is that it will be an attractive asset to the city and to the community for many years to come. So, if you would, Ms. Dempsey, if you would put up this is a Jacob's rendition of what could be there. You just saw what was there, a bunch of weeds and no water except when it rains. This particular design is not carved in concrete. That's up to you folks to determine what goes in here. But as you can see, it can be, it will have, one of the questions people ask me, is it going to have water in it? Yes, it's a lake. We're creating a small lake. But it will have places, for instance, if you look in the middle there, there's a little island with a little veranda, which makes a perfect wedding site. But there's also room for other things to be there. Now, when you look at this picture, you've got the Carrabelle Hotel a few lots down. You've got the library across the street. You've got the restaurants and other businesses within 2 blocks. So it's a very attractive thing. So the question that should be asked is, okay, where's the money coming from? Mm-hmm. Now, the reason that's an important question is because when Mayor LaPaz, and I heard this echoed from the current mayor in my ear, but when Brenda LaPaz asked me to take on this job, she said, "I know, by the way, Chester, we don't have anything in the budget for it." Great. And by the way, Chester, you can't put any workload on the city employees. Great. So now I have a real challenge, okay? But that's all right. I'm used to challenges. So we went to work and we designed this. And so I think y'all, has everybody been, all the commissioners been supplied?
Did I send it? No, I'll send it.
Okay. Well, let me tell you how this came to pass in a little bit. The group of people that were put together, many of them are experts in their field. I was kind of the joker card because I'm from a business background, so if it doesn't make money, I tend not to like it too much. This project has the potential to not only make money for the people that are around it by increasing their property values, or the businesses are around it, but it also has the ability to pay for its own maintenance. Now, the maintenance should not be as high as a normal project like this, because baked into this design is sustainability. But that does not mean all the maintenance costs, and I want to be upfront with the city commissioners. There will be maintenance costs. Just the vandalism itself is going to be a cost, correcting any vandalism. So we're done. We've spent 3 years sorting this, then we sent it off to the university. They came back and said, okay, you need to change this, you need to do that, you need to do this. We did all those things, and then all of a sudden we found out we had run out of time for the money. The good news is they extended the deadline. Okay, now the deadline to get in line for the money to do this is September 1. So what I'm here tonight is to introduce this project to you, answer any questions that you may develop now or in the future. But the decision on whether to go forward and get in line for this funding, that's up to you. You can turn down this idea, you can modify this idea, but whatever you do, please keep in mind that we believe, and a lot of people have looked at this, we believe that this will be a positive addition to the town of Carrabelle. So I'll just stop right there and let you ask me questions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Butler. And Mr. Butler had gave this, if you will, presentation to Courtney and I already, and we had some conversation. So I'm gonna open it up to you guys. Y'all have some questions or comments or concerns?
Well,
Okay,
Go ahead. Oh,
Bill?
You did say that this was 100% covered with this grant you're going into?
What we are suggesting, we're suggesting a couple of things. The first one is that you get in line for funding from Florida Resilience. That deadline is
Mr. Butler, will you stay in front of the mic,
I'm
please?
sorry, thank you. So if you get, now, this was also an issue that I had. Can we get, because one of the things that has to be done to make this project a reality is you see the 4 little cabins, okay? The gentleman that bought that from the Butlers also owns a strip of land that we need for this project, okay? So the question that I had is, will Florida Resilience pay for the land? And the answer was yes. Or I wouldn't be standing here, okay? But I don't want to oversell this, because I want you to be aware that no matter how good we make a project, there are going to be some maintenance costs associated with it. But I think this would be great for the downtown businesses and the real estate next to it. But yes, we're going after 100% funding.
Chester?
Well, I just want to say, this is the first time I've been in a room with another Chester.
It's also, I think you also have a designation, or at least part of a designation, for master naturalist. Is that
Yes,
correct?
that's correct, sir.
That's, the reason I know that is because people mistake me for you sometimes.
It's the hair.
It's
the hair.
Yes, yes. To get back to it, is this, that little arm that goes up there, up on the upper left, is that a drainage area
Yes,
that's
sir,
going
that
to
is a
go
drainage
to the
area
river?
now.
That's a drainage there now. So there is a link to the Carrabelle River from that
Yes, sir.
area.
Yes, sir. Now,
Correct.
the technology that is there is old technology. And I'm not going to kid you, that area right now is adequate. It's
Yeah.
not 100%, but it's adequate. And there have been no serious floodings except on the eastern side of that. So, but that little pond, well, let me go back to your question here. So what we would anticipate is we put new technology in, so the water would be filtered before it goes into the bay. So we're putting clean water in the bay. I lost my train of thought now, Mayor. Did that answer your question?
Yes, it did, in that it's an existing one, but we would have to go through the Butler property if we wanted to redo that drain area?
Actually, it's underground.
It's underground. Right, but if the pipe isn't right and we have to redo the pipe, would that necessitate us going into?
I don't think so. I think you already own that piece of property. Because you see, there used to be a road coming through there. That was, what was that? Would that be first?
I think that would be first, but there's a platted road, but the wetland area in the bottom in there, it's not practical to have it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That answers my question. Thank you.
Because if you go to the north side of it, actually the street and roads crew keeps part of it maintained till it gets to that wet area.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, we've also done a little spade work for y'all. When I left the house, my wife said, you know, Chester, audiences are like cats. They don't pay much attention till you give them a treat. I hope this is a treat for you. Tell me again now what was asked.
But my question?
Yes.
Yeah, well, my question was the drainage, but it was also a question about, and it's still in my mind, that when we cross, yeah, right in there, would we have to enter into some relationship with the owners of that property if we had to replace the entire pipeline?
I believe Russell can answer this, but I think we have an easement.
I was
We
thinking
already
did
have an
too.
easement.
We already have an easement.
The drainage that's went through there is not that old since we've replaced the pipe.
Okay,
I mean, now it's probably
Yeah.
15 years, but it's not 50 years.
sure,
Yeah,
sure.
there is an easement there, and I believe there's I can't remember the pipe size. It might be a 30 or 36-inch pipe. There's a significant size pipe
Okay.
within that easement.
Good.
It's right over in this area, and it drains from here, crosses over the road, and comes all the way down this.
And the new
connects to the river.
owner, and the new owner's redone all that through there, correct? When, with the
I don't think they adjusted that pipe.
pipe, okay.
All right.
No, there was a lot of talk about that had been dug up, but that was not the case. Or at least, I didn't find it to be the case, and I've been over there several times. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ms. Brown, did you have a question?
I just wanted to say that this is exciting because people have been asking for this specific thing right here downtown. So this is a treat.
I'm glad to hear you say that. I've been sort of the doubting Thomas as we go along for the past 3 years. I'm the guy on the team that says, but wait a minute. Where's the money?
Yeah, well, yes.
Or wait a minute, how can we short circuit that and make this work? Now, I told you that the finance, we suggest that you go after 100% financing. But you remember, I've made the promise to two mayors to find a way to finance it and not mess too much with the employees of the city because they have enough to do. But I will tell you that the employees of the city, especially you, Courtney, have been most helpful to me because I show up from time to time asking silly questions that maybe I ought to know. But the second thing that I promised them was that I would not put a burden on the staff. So what we suggest that you do is this. I went and met with the Appalachia Bay Planning Council, and I showed them this project. And we talked about a lot of things with them. And at the end of that discussion, I said, I've got to figure out a way not to put a work burden on the current employees. And they said, how about this, Chester? If the city decides to do this and take the next step toward getting funding, we can be your agent. And we will work with your city administrator and get these items done. Now, the reason that I liked that and the reason I went to see Josh Adams in this case was because I had worked with him on other things and because we needed to find out definitely about the funding. And he couldn't give us an answer. It had to go up the chain of command and at the state, and they came back and said that
they would pay for the piece of real estate that we need. Now, the piece of real estate that we need is very, it's the part, I'm trying to look. Let me walk away just a second. There's a tree line there on
Yes.
that property. Now, excuse me, if I'm not mistaken, the owner wants to maintain that tree line, and we would come in and pick up that little strip of land that we need to be able to create that basin, which is right behind those four. They're not residents, I think they're rentals. So, now in terms of time, well, that's going to depend on a lot of things. Okay, first of all, we got to get your funding approved. But before the first shovels turn, a lot more work has to go into this project. In particular, what's interesting is that, or to me, what's interesting is because I was the only person representing Carrabelle, and I don't have all the ideas, I feel like the Chamber of Commerce should be involved, and I'm meeting with them next week, and I will share this information with them because I think this is a benefit to the businesses downtown. So we'll see. But if I were on the chamber, I would pick up this ball fast because I think it's money in their pocket for the city. For them, but also for the city. Because let's suppose you're having a wedding. And you're going to have a wedding, let's say you build that little pavilion out there on the end, you're going to have a wedding there, and everything's perfect except one thing. There's everybody else in the park. You could ask for rent, for a day's rent, if they surprise you with a liability policy for $1 million, which is what I'd recommend. And that's not expensive, by the way. So there are ways, when you think about it, and y'all's creative minds and juices get to working, there are ways to improve on this design. But the design itself is not bad, it just may not be what Carrabelle decides they want. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me get to the bottom line. What I'm asking you to do tonight is to consider this. If you decide to go forward, there's no downside that I can see to this, because if you should get funded if you should compete and get funded, then I lost my train of thought again. That's what happens to a 77-year-old when he doesn't go to bed at 7 o'clock. Anyway, do you have any other questions?
I think what Mr.
Yes.
Butler was going to say is if we do get funded, we're not obligated.
That's
Well,
right. Thank you.
I was waiting. I didn't want to interrupt. I remember what Mr. Butler said to us, or said to, that right now the concern is to meet the deadline.
That's correct.
Okay? And if we move forward with it, we can stop it at any time. If we don't move forward with it and meet the deadline, it's dead.
That's right. If you're not in the game, you don't win.
That's without rehashing everything he said. So, to me, and I don't know how about the rest of you board members, but to me, that's a win situation. But it's up to the board.
And I can say that we have done many, many, many projects with the
Right.
ARPC. I've worked with Josh Adams, Carolyn Smith, and
Yes.
we've completed a bunch of projects, and they always do a good job.
And I also think you've worked with Darrell Boudreaux at the Northwestern Water District, and he was most helpful. There are drone shots of this. He brought, the state has woken up and they're buying drones for all these different departments. But anyway, he came over, did the aerial shots that we needed, and then also supplied me with some aerial shots of things that are going on between here and East Point that I'm kind of monitoring.
So, what's the board's
I would like
move?
to make a motion that we go ahead with this project and apply for this grant via the ARPC.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Brown. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Reese. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Thank you very much, Mr. Butler.
This is very exciting.
And I did hit him hard when we first started talking about not putting extra work on city employees and we didn't have any money.
Yeah. You get that from any of us.
Thank you for your attention and time. You've been very patient.
No, thank you
I
for
don't-
it.
But I would like to note one thing. It looks like this was put together backwards. Might want to consider reversing this so that when people put things up here, they don't drop off.
You're right.
Yeah.
That is correct.
Wonder who did that.
You know what? That is really good observation because it's been there for a while.
Have we only, has it been a year?
It's been a while.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Never noticed it.
It has not been that long.
The clear ones, yeah.
Okay, Miss Courtney?
All right, item 3, Ms. Boone called and asked for this to be removed from the agenda.
Removed,
Removed.
tabled?
Removed until she'll let us know if she wants it back on there at some point in the future.
Okay.
Okay.
Item 4,
Yes, ma'am?
discussion and possible action regarding the advocacy of military veterans requested by Al Bine.
Mr. Bynum? Good evening.
My name's Al Byrne. I'm a retired Navy officer, and I had an idea a couple of months ago. Have they got the paperwork? Yes, you've seen the paperwork. That's a poll I took. You see the dates, the names, the people. What I found out was, the question I asked was, as a retailer, would you offer a discount to military personnel, active duty, retired, etc.? 95% of the respondents said to me, I already do that. I went to the Chamber of Commerce and I said, they already do that. Chamber of Commerce said, what do you want to do? I said, what I want to do is just create a simple sign, decal, so that people could put on their door, their retail establishment or their cash register, that says that something like military appreciation discount offered here. That's a done deal. Me and the Chamber of Commerce are going to make that happen. So I'm coming here to report to you I did this in your city, and I hope you think it's a good idea.
Yes, sir.
My ask tonight is for you to consider taking my idea and just expanding it a little bit. We come into Carrabelle 3 different ways, 98, twice, 67. You've got signs. Welcome to Carrabelle. I would like you to think about amending that sign in some fashion to say that Carrabelle is a military-friendly city or community, something of that order. That's my whole request. I understand Department of Transportation, there's all kinds of stuff you got to deal with. But I just thought that I would bring this forward since the retailers of your city already are going to do this. That's my pitch.
Okay, thank you very much. And my first response, Commissioners, unless you guys have something, is that gives us something to think about. I don't know necessarily how we're going to respond with putting one thing on the city sign and not others. But I do know at the entrance to our community in years past, and I really haven't looked at them recently, is the chamber had signboards for things just like what you're describing, for the military veterans, etc. They had signboards at the entrance of the city limits there for years, and the chamber maintained those. And that would be a good thing for the chamber, or for you to look at and discuss with the chamber and put it on their signboard. I've saw Lions Club on their boards and different functions, American Legion, et cetera, I've seen a lot of their signs on their signboards, and that might be a good approach there. But what you just described to us will give us something to think about, unless there's another commissioner that has a thought.
Well, that's all
Staff?
I wanted to do is get you guys
Okay.
to think about it.
Thank you very
for your
much.
time. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Appreciate your work.
And if anybody wants a copy of the list and the discounts available, I have it for public record, so.
Thank you, Ms. Keisha.
Item 1, discussion and possible action regarding the new cemetery addition requested by Mr. George Ensweiler, and I do not see him here tonight.
Okay, did he ask for that to be removed?
He did not, so
Okay,
it
well, we
would
probably
just
need a
be
motion to
tabled.
table that.
And I put it on there because it was on last month's, but, we'll just remove it until he asks for it to be brought up again because this is the second time it's been tabled, so.
Okay. It's fine. That's all we have?
That's all we have.
Anything else from the board? If not, thank you very much for a good meeting tonight. Y'all have a good evening. Meeting adjourned.